김일성은 어떻게 신이 되었느냐?
Understanding how Kim Il-sung became a deity is crucial.
김일성 정권 초기 그 북한 정권을 지도하는 지배
In the regime's early days, the rulers consisted mostly of serfs, workers, or their children.
그래서 이런 사람들이 국가 지도자가
So with these people in charge, things that would be deemed impossible if intellect or reason were at play happened without any hesitation in North Korean society.
왜 지성이 작동하는 사회가 아니니까
For it wasn't a society where intellect was at work.
탐욕스럽고
Thus, those who were ignorant, greedy, and poor became the national leaders. It was great for those who lived at the very bottom to become national leaders.
뭐 기득권에 들어가면 누구나 다 좋잖아요, 인간은. 그리고 인간은
Anyone would enjoy privileges, and humans instinctively don't want to give up these privileges. So these people began to create a legal system to maintain their privileges, claiming to aim for a classless society while actually creating a very stratified one.
이렇게 했지만 이 사람들
However, for these people, it still wasn't enough.
왜냐하면 인간은 자기가 언제 안전하다고 느끼냐면요. 어떤 흔들리지
Humans feel safe when they have a firm, unshakable source of power to lean on.
안전하다고 느껴요.
That's why a deity has always been sought. We yearn for something to depend on. Thus, the ignorant rulers of North Korea also needed a mechanism that could perpetually sustain their power because the law alone could not guarantee. Laws could change and they might have to step down with the change. Therefore, they decided to create an absolute entity to maintain their power forever.
그러니까 김일성 중심으로 뭉쳤잖아요.
Initially, they united around Kim Il-sung, but if Kim Il-sung stepped down, they would also fall.
그래서 김일성을 절대적
So they began to construct him as an absolute figure, bestowing upon him all the powers to govern the state,
당
party, military, administration, and diplomacy. They concentrated all the supreme authority on one person, Kim Il-sung, making him an absolute figure, placing him far above the law.
그런데 그 인간은 불안하면 불안할수록
But the more anxious humans become, the stronger a deity they desire, a more powerful absolute being.
거예요. 그래서 이 사람들이 그 김일성을 갖다가
So they began to transform him into an object of veneration. This task was spearheaded by Kim's two sons, Kim Pyong-il and Kim Jong-il. But they alone couldn't achieve this. It required widespread, fervent support. So they got the support from the North Korean elite to venerate Kim Il-sung, which allowed this campaign to proceed very successfully. On top of erecting statues, nationwide and instilling rituals of worship, they still felt insecure, so they ultimately deified him.
불안하니까 결국 신으로 만들었습니다. 그리고
Kim Il-sung was deified for the new ruling class and their benefit and privileges, turning Kim into a god above the law guaranteed the perpetuation of their own power and that of their descendants.
그래서 김일성이
So when Kim Il-sung became deity, North Korean society acquiesced. That is why God is punishing North Korean society collectively. It wasn't just a political error of the two individuals, but the entire society participated in it.
그런데 그 이들이 치명적으로
However, they made a fatal mistake.
그 원래 인간이
The object of human worship is usually made of stone or wood, because only then can it be eternal, as it would not perish.
그리고 돌이나 나무로 만들어서 죽지 말아야 되고 그리고 아무 능력
Moreover, people do not actually want an omnipotent deity. Rather, it must remain powerless.
사실 능력이 없어야 돼요.
They need this deity under their control so they can do whatever they want in any situation.
그래서 인류 역사에 보면 늘
In history, the objects of worship were made from stone or wood or deceived individuals.
근데 이 역사에
But these people were ignorant of history.
그냥 역사를 배운 적도 없고
They never learned or showed interest in it, and so they made a living person into a deity. This was their fatal mistake.
이것 때문에 북한사에서 어떤 일이 일어났냐면
As a result, in North Korean society, because they made a living person into a god, there was capriciousness. This person experienced extreme mood swings, and because he became their deity, he started to kill thousands of people on a whim, depending on his mood.
처음에 김일성은 정권 초기에는 자기를 이게 충성하고
During the early days of his regime, Kim rewarded those who were loyal to him. After eliminating their opposition, only those loyal to him remained.
해줬는데 이 사람들이 김일성을 신으로 만든 궁극의 목적.
But these loyal ones started to abuse power since their only purpose of defying Kim was for him to ensure their comfortable lives and to help maintain their power.
그래서 사회 문제가 된 거예요, 이 사람들이.
Therefore, these individuals became a problem in the society. They increasingly disobeyed the word of the God they created and began to sow chaos. Kim, in a fit of rage, had them all thrown into political camps overnight. They were essentially killed by the deity they had made.
그 신이 자기들이 그 기득권을 영원히
They thought this deity would guarantee their privilege forever.
밑에 사람들은
The people made Kim Il-sung a god for their selfish reasons. Even so, if Kim had the slightest intellect, he would know he was not a deity. He would undoubtedly know how powerless and finite he was, as a human being. But did Kim Il-sung realize that he couldn't really become a god?
몰랐어.
He didn't.
진짜 자기가 신이라고
He actually deluded himself into believing he was a god.
그 이유를
How could such a thing happen? It turns out Kim Il-sung said it himself.
김일성이 죽기 전에 해고를
Before he died, he wrote an autobiography.
그게 사실이에요. 근데 김일성의 최종 학력이 어디?
He had graduated, from Yuan Middle School in Jilin.
근데 그 해고록에 보면 길림육문중학교가 3년제인데
According to him, Yuan was a 3-year school, yet he spent all his time protesting against Japan. He was, so involved in activism that he hardly studied. He had no time to study and eventually dropped out due to his, involvement in the protests. So, was Kim Il-sung a learned man? He had no connection to education whatsoever. He was completely uneducated. I've always wondered while in North Korea about the absurdity of the directives he issued. At the time, I thought maybe it was due to his deification. But looking back now, so many orders were pure madness because the man himself was so ignorant.
그게 왜 그래? 이 사람
This is reflected in North Korean's history. It's considered blemish for a president not to have a university degree. So records indicate that he studied at a university for a while, but had to give up because he had no academic capability. He was incapable of rendering genuine self-reflection, totally not self-aware. Kim Il-sung deluded himself into thinking he was a god.
그러다 보니까 김일성은 죽는 날까지
He lived and died under the illusion that he was omnipotent. In a nutshell, the North Korean regime is like an organized crime syndicate that seized control of a country with the support of the Soviet military and has been operating ever since. This is how Kim Il-sung could ascend to the position of a god in North Korea.